Today I'd like to discuss or share with you about the differences between love and emotion. Much misunderstood, extremely misunderstood. I love you. Yeah, you got a girlfriend? I love you. This one made me laugh the other day, where they've only known each other about 3 weeks. And the woman says to the man, I really love you. Because he was going to go away for a few weeks on holiday somewhere else. And she just heard of this. But I really love you. And he said, yes, me too. I love sleeping with you. It's a bit coarse, but nevertheless, it's very realistic. When we hardly know each other, that's not love. That's sex drive. A need for some sort of intimacy because we're very lonely deep down inside. We want to be loved. You say, oh yeah, but what about the mother and her child? You think so, wouldn't you? You think that's love. And you won't like what I'm going to say. More often than not, it's not love. It is identification. As the parent, the child represents our inner child. That part of us that never had enough love, it never had enough goodies, it never had enough of attention. And somehow we've projected that neediness of ours into the child. And now we will do anything for that child. Because in feeding that child emotionally or physically, indulging it in whatever way, it's like we're giving it to ourselves. Now that's not to say that you cannot have real love, which you can, of course. But to have real love, you have to be in that child or in that girlfriend or boyfriend or wife or friend. You have to be looking at the world from their perspective. And we have all these women who they do that, and yet that's not love. How is that possible? You see, what these women do, they put themselves, usually it can happen with a man, but it's usually the woman. They can put themselves in the man's space, and it's an important skill, quality to have. Otherwise, how are you going to understand your child when he's needy in some way or other? You need to be able to put yourself in their shoes. So what the woman does is she puts herself in the man's shoes, and now she lives for that man. His needs, his desires, they're paramount. And somewhere in herself, she's done a trade-off whereby she's hoping that by giving so much of herself to the guy, he will give her in return. Because it's shocking when it doesn't happen, because she's putting herself at the mercy of an egocentric guy. And I don't say this in a bad way, because we're all egocentric to a greater or lesser extent. But nevertheless, that's the dynamic. And so she, takes a while before the penny drops, and then she's devastated because she's put so much of herself into that guy. She has identified with that guy. And that isn't love. But she's devastated, yeah, emotionally. So what would make a loving relationship with a guy? See, because you do need to put yourself in your partner, husband, child, whatever. You need to put yourself in their shoes if you are to understand how they're feeling, what is going on for them, to understand them. And we need to do this without judgment, without criticism. But, and this is the crucial bit, we then need to come back to ourselves, because I don't rely on my wife to love me. It's nice that she does. It's the icing on the cake. I don't rely on her love, because I love me. I don't spend any time in negativity, in thoughts that says that I'm not worth loving, that I'm horrible, that I'm this, that, the other. I don't do any of that. I'm not perfect. And sometimes I look at myself in the mirror with compassion, and tears may come as I realize how damaged I am, or how needy I am at that emotional level. And so when I look at myself with compassion, with soft eyes, my love for me comes to the fore. Now that's real love. When I don't judge me, when I accept me as I am totally, and I'm still okay, I still understand me, I still appreciate me, I still accept me. With all of that, that's love. And so, real love begins at home. Real love never begins, I put myself in someone else's shoes because of my neediness. That's not love. Or it's difficult to get there when we don't understand the difference. I've mentioned before the difference that emotions have to do from the body and feelings have to do with the heart. And emotions are a hormonal thing that occurs within us. It is essentially, we have been designed to have hormones that activate our body, the whole of our body, for fight or flight. It's an essential quality of a human being, of any animal, we all have it. And this activates muscles. The hormones activate the muscles. They will stop certain organs, like maybe the stomach, for example. They will activate the adrenal glands. They may suppress the immune system temporarily. So there's a whole lot of functions that happen as a result of an emotion that gets highlighted within us. And if I follow that train of thought for a second, you will appreciate that reactive emotions, when we're triggered emotionally, and they're there all the time, in the background, they're running in the background all the time, we're going to get sick, because our immune system has been reduced in efficacy by at least 25%, if not more. And it will exhaust us. It will generate a lot of muscular tension, because we're not using that energy. We're not running around. We're not fighting. We're not doing anything with it. So tension builds up in the body, which is going nowhere. So that's the bad side of emotions. But emotions are also good. For example, if you come and attack me or attempt to attack me, then, for the sake of argument, then depending on my level of skill, i.e., have I trained in martial arts? Have I done a lot of play fighting? If I have done none of those things, I'm in trouble. But if I have done some of those things, I now have a good choice between fighting or running. Take your pick, depending on how many come in and how proficient we imagine ourselves to be, or we have experience of being. And to fight, we need anger, not rage. Rage is what happens when we get triggered, because the tension has been building up and we don't know what to do with it because we're too scared of letting rip with our boss or whatever, so we hold it back, and then we're with our children or with our wife or whoever, and they do something and now we explode. It's got nothing to do with those human beings. It was with the previous one, but there was a sort of a power dynamic and we were too scared to deal with that. So a moment comes when we get triggered with someone else and we explode. And that isn't fair, but that is what a lot of us do. So we need to be able to differentiate between that and anger. Anger is an emotional intensity within us that says, I am willing to stand my ground to the death. It's not hot, we're cool, we're rationing, our brain is working fine. It hasn't become cloudy or anything like that. We can see what's going on. We are present in our bodies. We are present in our bodies. You can't have anger if you're in your head. We are present in our bodies. We can see the person who's crossed our line, which is unacceptable to us. For whatever reason, the line is completely unacceptable. And so we stand our ground. And we are willing to do whatever it takes to defend our ground, our line, ourselves. We all have a space that belongs to us, right? Someone gets too close in your face, they're pushing into your boundaries. That's when you know whether you can generate your anger or not. Generate your anger is like, hey, move back. You don't have to sort of raise your voice or anything, to say, move back, you're in my space. And if they look at you, they will see in your eyes that you mean it. And when you really mean it, they'll move back. Because we all respect anger. Nobody respects rage, okay? When someone's shouting and mouthing off and they're like a bull in a china shop, nobody respects them. Everybody gets out of the way. So that is the difference. So anyway, there are positive emotions. There's positive fear as well, by the by. You can be fearful and do it anyway. Yeah, now that's very positive, because if you're too afraid of your shadow to go out of the house in the morning, in case a car or a bicycle or whatever hits you or does something to you, then you won't live your life. So it is important to connect with our fear and to do it anyway. Whatever it is we're going to do. And so we marshal that fear, and we can turn that fear into anger, positive anger. So I'm just saying that there are positive and negative emotions. Not everything is dark. There are positives. And so emotions are important for a human being. Emotions are not the problem. The problem is our mind. Because our mind has developed programs to protect us from that emotional intensity. A lot of people are afraid of their anger. So it's a mind job. You know, you don't stand up to your parents, for example. You do something, they do something which is unfair. And your anger comes. And now you suppress it. Because you want your parents to love you. Because if you're little, you need your parents to take care of you. You can't look after yourself. You can't feed yourself. You need your parents. And that means that you have to be in their good books. And being really angry doesn't pay with your parents. You sort of know that instinctively. So you suppress, and heck, half of my clients have suppressed their anger. I suppressed my anger till my mid-40s. I didn't even know till I had a few events in my life that allowed me to experience my anger, and then I felt like a god, frankly, because anger is a powerful emotion. And when you're righteous in your anger, not your rage, righteous in your anger, then you are ready for whatever. You know, it's like an engine that's been finely tuned and it's ready to rev and shoot off at 60 miles an hour within 6 seconds, whatever. I'm just saying. So we need to have these emotions available at a moment's notice. They have to be there. They have to be available. I can be angry in anger, not in rage, at a moment's notice. If push comes to shove, it's there. It's in me. So what I'm talking here is about flexibility, being emotionally flexible, which also requires mental flexibility. We need to be able, children are amazing. I've got a granddaughter. She's just over 2 years old, but I've been watching her very intently over the last year or so. And I see her get really angry. And it and it disappears. Her emotions, they come and go. It's amazing. The flexibility of her emotional display is amazing. It's wonderful to see. Yeah. Now, as adults, we don't do that. We have to hold a lot of those emotions internally. That doesn't mean to say that we don't experience them. It simply means we don't just let the cat out of the bag. Life would be too uncomfortable because a lot of people would not understand, because people are so suppressed, they're so cut off internally that they get triggered by the slightest thing. So we have to tread carefully around most people. That's why I'm not around most people, because I don't want to tread carefully around people. What do I need that for? I'm me. But sometimes we have to be social and we have to be polite and we have to be whatever. and that's the world we're in. It can be helped, but that also is part of flexibility. However, we need to be able to experience the emotions internally, need to let them breathe and move through our bodies, and if necessary then go and do some sort of physical activity to release that tension that may have arisen. That happens occasionally. It has to be done. So we need to be physically flexible, emotionally flexible, and mentally flexible. Now, the problem with people is that they are inflexible.